let's start at the beginning of the Tech Talk page then. So if you go to tech-talk.com, that's the outside page before you log in over here on the right as a member login. So just to make sure that we know how many pieces are in Tech Talk, we're going to scroll down on this public page and see. You're all familiar with the publication that comes to you from the Florida MLC. And then some of you will have gone to the database, which we're going to be showing you today, with all kinds of cool things in there. Then there is a mobile app, which some of you may or may not have known about. And we have added, as a regular feature, webinars. During the shutdown, we're doing them every week. After the shutdown, we're doing them twice a month. All right, so now find a chat, if you will, all right? I'm going to ask you a tricky question. So I'd like everybody to participate, please, and I'll be watching the chat. The question for you is chat free for you to use? No or yes or I don't know. No.
Linda, you said is chat free. I think you meant is Tech Talk free.
Yes. I did. Is Tech Talk free? And put no, yes, or I don't know. So we've got some yeses, some I don't knows, some yeses. So I told you this was a little bit a tricky question. The answer is it is technically not free. The state library pays for this for every library in the state of Florida to use with their staff and their librarians, you know, and maybe your volunteers, people who work in the library. So technically it's not free, but it is free for you to use, and it's free for you to share with all your staff so that they can see it, okay?
Linda was talking about is Tech Talk free, and she mentioned that it is paid for. At the top, before we started this presentation, we were chatting with some folks and mentioned that during the shutdown, if you were to go to the page of a homepage of Tech Talk, you'll see a link because we have a free learning opportunity right now during the shutdown for individuals within schools, libraries, to sign up and get Tech Talk for free temporarily, just because this is a time where people have lots more time to do some online learning and training. So in that case, it is free for the time being while we're all under stay-at-home orders.
So if you are in the SWFLN area and you are a member of SWFLN, Southwest Florida Library Information Network, then you use SWFLN, which we will do, SWFLN. And the password is the same, lowercase, SWFLN. Now, if you're in TBLC, be sure to put the TBLC, you put TBLC and TBLC lowercase. If you're in NEFLN, you put NEFLN lowercase. If you're in SWFLN and so forth.
Then let me just interject that if you're receiving the weekly email, your login ID will be at the top of that email. So you don't have to remember it. It's always there in your email.
In your newsletter.
In your email newsletter, correct.
Right. Okay. Great. Very briefly, I'm going to show you. There are some key sections up here that in the navigation to pay attention to. The first one is new to Tech Talk ? When you click on that, here are the 4 basics, all right? So when you click on here, you'll find out how to search throughout the database. When you click on here, you see the 1-minute introductory video, which is kind of fun. When you click on this one, you find new ways, which we're going to show you in a minute, for learning activities that you can learn stuff and have fun at the same time. And over on the right, another avenue for getting to the webinars. So after the session, you might want to explore what's new if you are new to Tech Talk, so that you can show your staff members who are not familiar with it, they can get started there. Another good section is learning activities. Learning activities, when you hover over it, gives you a whole series of things you can click on everywhere from the welcome video, basics for non-techies. So let's say you've got a staff member that is really not very comfortable in technology and you want to build their confidence, start them in the basics for non-techies, or in the special collections, which has some first steps in it and so forth. Let's go to that one. So when we go to special collections, here is first steps. You'll see that in email, there are 4 articles about basic things in email. Now, Tech Talk is about using the office suites and the internet at work. It's not a dummies A to Z. So we research and find and scour around for a tip that will make a big difference in your life. So that's what these 4 are. They're simple, but they have to do with something that would be productive in email. You've got 27 for Excel at first steps, 8 graphics and so forth. Over here we have formatting tricks. And just for the different parts, formatting in PowerPoint has 9, Word has 37, obviously, 33 for Excel. And those are ways of making your documents look better. Down here, we've got 11 articles on protecting against disasters. That's from a computer perspective, not a life perspective. Finding lost files. True story, Florida Memorial University, they had a student that had worked all day long on a report that was due the next day for her class. She was so pleased with it, and she closed her document, and she hadn't named it, and she lost it. Every word, all of that work down the drain. She was devastated. Her friend said, if you didn't name it, you cannot get it back. And that's what we all used to think. However, one of the librarians said, wait a minute, I saw something about that in Tech Talk. So they went to the database right in here. They did a search for lost files. They found the article. They printed it out. They sat with her and worked with her step by step, and she got her full report back. Doesn't it almost make you want to tear up? It always does for me. Okay, so that's the learning activities. This is where you went to get webinars and recordings. Some other things we're going to show you, learning credits we're going to show you at the end as well. Or you can click on learning activities and you can see all of the different, it's like an index, the different things. The toolkits are like little mini courses. The treasure hunts show you how to create a flyer and an infographic or a pivot table and have you use the database to do it. Here's our special collections in here. And we're going to show you more in a totally different way. So when we go to search, that's the other key area. You've got multiple ways of doing it and the 10 most recent in each of the major categories. So that gives you the introduction. I'm going to switch slides and give you a problem. Switch to Deborah. She's going to show her screen. And I'm going to set up a problem scenario for you. So let's say you've got a situation here, right? You're creating a flyer for an event, and the image you want to use has a lot of background, and you don't even like the background. Maybe it's a kitchen, and you don't want a kitchen, but you like the foreground. So you just wish you could turn the person in front, or the sheep, or the little girl, or something, and just have that and no background, but you want to remove the background. So Deb, will you show us where to go in the database to solve that problem?
Well, this is probably the first step you would do when you come to the database and you have an issue that you can't figure out. So like Linda said, we want to remove the background of a picture. In this case, it's going to be a dog, not a kitchen. Anyway, so I would go to search by keywords. You can search from here, but I'm already on this page, and I'm going to search by keyword. I'm just going to put in remove background. I could search on graphics, but I think remove background will narrow it down a lot quicker. So here's our example. There's actually a few: remove background on a slide, remove background in a person, remove background image. So there's a few different articles. We're just going to click on remove background image. And if you are working in Word or PowerPoint, there's this really cool little trick you can do to remove the background right inside the picture. So you'll see we have an article here. I've got a PowerPoint open. And I've got this cute little dog. You can see my dog, right, Linda?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got this dog running through this great little field, but I want the dog running on the beach instead for my purpose. So in Word or in PowerPoint, when you click the image, the picture format window comes up and the remove background icon appears. So I can just click that, and it's pretty smart. It's going to make the area that it thinks I want to remove pink. Now, I said it's pretty smart, but it's not perfect. You can see there's areas it didn't remove and areas that I want to keep. So I can click on Mark Areas to Remove and clean this up. I'm just dragging my mouse over the area that I want to get rid of, and boom, you saw it did a perfect job getting rid of that. Now his little pads of his paws have disappeared. So I'm clicking on the Mark Areas to Keep. I'm just gonna click in there and see how good a job it does. There's one and there's two. Perfect. So now if I'm happy, all I have to do is click Keep Changes, and now I have the background removed from this happy little guy. Sometimes it takes a little back and forth going and clicking on and trying to get it just right, but this one has a pretty clear removal. So now I can just crop this guy, and maybe I want to put him in another, whoop, just want to get some of this, I'm dragging here and then I'm hitting crop. Now I have a picture on my desktop that I'm going to add to this PowerPoint because I want to put this little guy on the beach. You see also he's hidden behind here, so I can either send this picture backward or bring him forward by clicking here. Get some extra little bonus tips in here besides remove background. Now I've got this little guy, he's running down the little boardwalk on the beach. So that's just a cool way to remove background right from PowerPoint, or the feature is in Word also. However, there is a very cool free online web tool that even does a better job when you have an image that might have, you know, a person's stray hair or a lot going on. I think it does a better job than Word. So I'm going to take you to a site called remove.vg. So that stands for remove.background. And again, there is a pricing level, but you can you don't have to subscribe or even create an account. All you do is come to their home page, click the upload button. I'm going to find this little guy, and it's meant for removing background of people, but I've used it for images of pets, of, you know, a bowl sitting on a countertop or other things. So if you like the way it removed the background, you can click download. But if there's a little bit of touching up you want to do, you can click at it. And I'm just going to click erase because I see a little bit down by his paw I want to get rid of. So I can just get rid of that. Now when I'm happy with it, I can click download. And this turns it into a PNG files. And you see the checkerboard around. That means it's a transparent background you can use to layer it on top of different backgrounds. So that's just kind of an example of a tip in Tech Talk where you can read the article and do it right away. Linda, what are we going to go to next?
Oh,
what's our next problem?
Yes. All right. So here's another problem. So maybe you're working in a newsletter and you just want a different image. You're trying to do something creative. You're tired of all the graphics that you've got, but you don't want to pay for something, and you don't want anything cheap and crappy, and you don't want to be besieged by ads and other traps. Pardon?
No, your choice of words are funny. Go ahead.
I try to be funny. Okay, so but you also want to be careful of the copyright laws, and you do not want to go to the web and just snag something or get an image, save that image and use it, because 9 times out of 10, those are going to be copyright protected, and you may be tracked down and fined. We've had clients and so forth who have experienced that. So you want a place that's safe. Deborah, where can they find that in the database, please?
Okay, well, we all use images or a lot of us use images every day. We try to look for them maybe for Instagram posts or other social media for powerful images with backgrounds and PowerPoint. So one way to find many of them, we have an article. If we just search on keywords, and I just put in, I'm just going to put in copyright and see what I get here. So one of the articles that comes up is finding no-cost copyright-free images. And we have found several websites where we go to on a regular basis when we use images in our articles and in other places where we can download them, use them for free, and not worry about, you know, violating any copyright laws. So one of the ones we use regularly in Tech Talk is Unsplash, unsplash.com, because they have such a wide variety of images, and they're not those silly stock images that look so fake. There's a lot of natural looking scenes, and you'll see those if you receive our newsletter every week. We usually pick an Unsplash image to feature our video. So that's one of our favorites. There's also Pexels.com, Pixabay.com. I don't use these as much because even though they have a lot of free images, it turns out the ones I want sometimes are referred to a paid site. So, but there are free ones, and I guess we can't complain about free. So
but that's not true of, let me interrupt, but that's not true of Unsplash, right? Unsplash is
right. Unsplash is completely free. Pixabay, they'll, like if I did, let's just say dog, they will feature images at the top here. Like these are from Shutterstock. These are paid images, but then down below, they'll give you quite a variety of free ones that you can download and use. So there's 3 or 4 that we use on a regular basis.
And then there are some other sites in Tech Talk too, like 123RF that are, you know, very, very inexpensive, $1 or so per image. So, right. Oh, you've already done that. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the article here. Another one that I use on a regular basis that we don't have in the article that I just remembered to add is Icon Finder. So even though it says there's pricing down below, you can use the guide here and say free and find all kinds of little icons because we use images and everything. So if you go to the free level, these are free, and I'll have to add that link to the article as well. Okay.
Great. Okay, so here's another problem situation. Maybe your computer desktop is cluttered with icons, and when you go looking for the file in your Explorer and so forth, you can't find it easily. So you think, I need organizing. So in Tech Talk, Deb, why don't you show them how they can find solutions in 2 different places for learning how to organize?
Sure. Well, you can always use the search that we did before and put in some keywords to find some articles on organizing. But we also have an area called Common Problems. We should call it Common Solutions, I guess. And these are different groupings of topics where we have pulled out some articles to help get you going in those areas. So for example, this is working with tables in Word, making your PowerPoint presentations a little bit more dynamic. But as Linda was saying, our problem today is we need to organize our files a little bit better. We need to take some time. And actually, while we're in our stay at home, this is a good time to organize electronically as well. So in each of these little clusters of articles, you'll find what we've pulled are 5 different articles that you can read and or watch. There's videos on a lot of them. And go through the series because they kind of have an order and learn. And one thing we've done is at the end to make sure that you retain the information and can put it into practice, we've created at the top, you'll see a pre-quiz so you can see what you know. And after you've read each of the articles, you can do a post-quiz. So it'll just go through, I don't know, 5 to 8 questions. And if you put in your email address, this will populate with your organization's login email. So you don't want that to be the one you use. You want to put your email address so that you get the report back. And you can take a quiz. So, you know, after you've done this, you might need to fulfill some continuing education credits for your job. So if they accept Tech Talk for that, after you've done some of these little mini courses, you can go to, it's under Learning Activities. And if you drop down to Learning Credits and Certificates, right now there's 3 different forms, but we're actually going to be combining these into one. Depending on if you're in the library education world or you need a physical certificate, you can fill out these forms and just drop down, pick the title. We have a lot of them pre-populated. If you don't see your title here, just go ahead and type it in the other box. And this will kick out to you an email for documentation, the date and the contact hours you've completed that you can use for your continuing education. Anything you want to add to that, Linda?
Can you tell them about the upcoming webinar on organizing files too?
Oh, absolutely. So in the weekly Tech Talk emails that go out, we announce upcoming webinars. But if you aren't receiving those and you want to find out more, under Learning Activities, there's a page, or you could just go to techtalk.com/webinars. And we have a webinar coming up on the 26th here on organizing your files and desktop. So that's the topic that we were just talking about. Next Wednesday, we have one on creating video on the run. And so these are the upcoming webinars. And if you scroll down the page, you'll see prior webinars that you can watch. And they're typically about an hour long. And you can click to download the handout. So you can watch any of these webinars and then fill out a certificate if you need the learning credit for those as well.
And Deborah, would you go to the articles and videos page, please, for me? And I want to show them one more thing, if you will, because we've got just a couple of extra minutes here.
Okay.
So if you scroll down and just click on one of the articles and open the article. And so now go up to, we have, if you want to practice other language skills, or you have somebody that is more comfortable in a different language, these articles are translatable in 100 different languages instantly. So Deb just translated into French. Now, we have had a number of people test these out. They're not 100% perfect, but the thing that's good about it is not only can people understand the point, but they actually get excited when they read it in the foreign language. So we think it works. Excuse me. Thank you, Deborah.
Great.
All right, so we have a few closing kinds of things to say. Number one, Luli, who is head of SWFLN, explained in the chat that actually, if you're a library in the state of Florida and you aren't a member of one of the library networks, that you can get Tech Talk through the state library, so you reach out to them. And I also wanted to mention that because we had a question about can your patrons and if you're not a member, can you get Tech Talk? During this shutdown, if you go to the public page, the tech-talk.com, before you've logged in as a member, then you can apply for free learning for all of your patrons. And that goes on all the way through May and probably further, whatever the shutdown is. And now, we also saw some questions about wanting to know the links. Deborah, would you put up the link to the handouts? So we've given you a handout that summarizes all of the different pieces that are involved in with Tech Talk that we've talked about today and a few more. And at the bottom of that are the links to the articles within there of the 3 tips that we shared with you today. So you should have that. And when you can get that right in the chat, just copy that link. Now, it will take you into the database, and you need to remember that your username is, in Florida, is the lowercase acronym for your library network. So it's SWFLN, lowercase, or TBLC, lowercase, and so forth. So do we have any questions before we go into our last slides and questions? Any questions or comments? All right, well, let me then show you I'm going to take the screen back again, please.
Yep, I switched off.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to go into one more chat. So if you go into the chat area, and I'd like you to answer 2 questions in the chat area. Pardon me. So, and you write the number 1 and answer what's one thing you liked or found useful today. And then you type the number 2 and you say what's one thing that would make this session more satisfying to you. So if you could put that in the chat, and then we will throw up the poll, which gives us the LSTA questions, and then we will send you on your way to explore the database. And so since most of you have, and also to download the mobile app, because the mobile app gives you instant access to the, so we see the websites, the removing background, the ease of navigating the website, the lost files, the hiding backgrounds, the translation feature. Yeah, sometimes we forget to see it. It's right there up in the corner for everybody. Recovering files, right? All right. As you're typing that, I'm going to open the poll question. And the poll asks you 5 questions, and you just need to click. You don't need to type. So it gives the state of Florida good information based on the LSTA requirements of, was it useful? Are you more confident? Do you understand the resources better, and so forth? You're going to use it. And so we have to wait till everybody has done the poll before we can launch the results and show you. And Deborah, if you could unmute Cindy so that she could make her, get ready for her closing words. We're a little bit ahead of schedule because we have 45 minutes. So again, if there are any other questions, even tip questions. By the way, also in the search area, there's a button called Ask a Question. And anytime you, well, we've never had anybody not understand what we've written when we've been doing this for 25 years. So knock on wood, we're real pleased about that because we pay a lot of attention to make sure there is no missing gaps like, well, wait a minute, what should I know before I can understand that? But there will be times when you just can't find something and you want to know where it is. You ask a question, you click on that button and submit a form, and we'll get back to you just as fast as lightning speed as we can. And then, or maybe you've got an idea for a new topic that you'd like us to write about. We get lots of good ideas from our readers. So that's another thing in search. Okay.
I just want to mention, Sheila said, I'm new to Zoom, maybe a quick how to navigate at the beginning. Absolutely. We usually do that at the beginning of our presentations, but there's going to be a tip coming out on an article on using Zoom from a participant and a presenter's view, and in I don't know the exact date in May, but mid-May we have a webinar as well on using Zoom.
And Sheila, if you could also put in chat if 1 or 2 things that you were looking for, because there's so much to be said, and when we do it at the very beginning, it would be helpful to know what specific things you would like us to put at the beginning. The poll keeps resetting my answers. Well, I think it's not. I think it just appears to be. I'm not sure. We'll have to check with Zoom on that. But keep pretending that, well, we'll check and see. I don't know how to address that in the middle of the poll, and I can't do anything as long as the poll is open. And right now we have 31 out of 44 who have signed. So if the rest of you could just pop in and finish that, we'll show the results and then turn it over to Cindy. Well, it looks.
Yeah, there's a comment about getting our weekly emails and having time to read through a few, but she didn't know about the website. And you know, it's true, we get so many things in our email. That's why we try to identify what the topic is right away, because obviously if you're not an Excel user, you might skip over that. But we forget that that database is there, and when we have a problem, going to it and searching for the problem, the answer, so you can get a quick answer. Or if it's kind of complicated, like Linda said earlier, you can put in the support section your specific question, and we'll do the research and to our best ability find the answer for you.
And so also it looks like the poll thing, if it's resubmitting your answers, if you keep clicking, it'll eventually take. It's just so busy. Zoom is so, I mean, I am quite impressed on how well Zoom has responded. It hasn't crashed and gone down with the zillion of people who have started using Zoom these days. So it looks like the poll is working. Okay, Cindy, it's all yours.
All right, thank you guys for that really great webinar. That was very informative, and I think our students have a better understanding of where they can go and what all Tech Talk has to offer. I've been big fans of you guys for a long time. I want to thank our ASL interpreter, Debbie House, and my co-host, Jose Valdez, and to all of you out there, we appreciate you spending time with us. Please be safe and have a very good rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.